Alvin Independent School District has come a long way in just over a century. It all began with a two-story frame building on House Street in 1881. By 1900, there were 8 different school zones featuring some 200 teachers and 40 buildings. During this time, Brazoria County was described as a cattle-raising area.
Prior to, I think, 1930, Alvin School District had a multitude of small school districts in it. It had Chocolate Bayou School District, it had a Fairview School District. Somewhere over there in that area had been a school building. It had Parker School Road, there was a school out in one direction. Alvin had a school, and I believe it was the 20s, maybe the late 20s, the state developed school district zones, and all the little schools, community schools in it, became part of that consolidated school district.
Rice would help fuel the economy because in 1948, Brazoria County was the nation's top rice-producing area.
And out where all of those houses are on 288, that was all rice field back in the 50s and 60s.
During the 1940s, the district created a 22-acre complex that would serve students all the way through high school, even providing for further education with the community college located there as well. Then black gold would change the landscape.
You know, at that time, Alvin was a wealthy district. There was an oil field in the Hastings area out north of Alvin. There was plenty of money for a school district.
All right. Has decided to transform Cuba into a base for putting all of the Americas under the nuclear gun.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
In the 60s, as we were changing to, that's when Alvin ISD went from being on a single campus. And that was a lot of fun. I had cousins here, and for the first time they opened the new Mark Twain. And it was a small elementary campus that was built by a little residential development, Bio Bend over there, where it backs up to Mark Twain. It was built for the influx of new families that were coming in to work in the chemical plant, and NASA, and different places. And so for the first time, I had some of my cousins that were close that had been on this single campus that's now Alvin High School. They went off campus to Mark Twain. And so it felt good, but it also felt like we lost somebody. That was a transition. It was hard for some families.
In 1973, Alvin ISD consolidated with Manville. That same year, Pat Miller graduated.
I think at that point in time, we probably had about between 5,000 and 6,000 kids. So it seemed like we were massive back then, but we were only 5,000 compared to 28,000 that we have now.
Before that period of rapid growth, Bill Hassey would take over as superintendent in 1985 through 1994, but that's when the wealth dried up.
And I became superintendent at a time when money was rather scarce, and the people had a hard time understanding why we could not do some of the things that we used to do when we had plenty of funds to fall back on.
Pat Miller would return to the district not as a student, but hired to manage the building programs.
When I first got here, Shadow Creek Ranch, Pomona, Southern Trails, Rodeo Palms, Lakes of Savannah, all of that was coastal prairie. There was nothing there, nothing at all. We built Jeter Elementary, and it was in like no man's land.
But what was once barren exploded with new construction. Families started calling more parts of the 250 square miles of Alvin ISD home. With all that growth came an explosion of school expansion. Since 2006, 22 new schools were built, becoming part of Alvin ISD's legacy.
When I came here, I thought, like I said, I thought I'd stay 5 or 6 years and I'd probably go back to the hill country. Here I am, nearly 65 years later.
There's no greater merit than at some point in time some kid comes back and lets you know, after they've been through and they've gone into life little ways, that you made an impact on their life in a positive way. That happens here at Alvin ISD every day. We need to make sure we understand that and don't take that for granted.
Well, I'd like to hope that I left a positive imprint on the school district. I guess only time tells that.